Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today we're going to go back into Heroes Jubilee, but now it's time to take on the boss battles, the ones where the meta actually kind of matters. So today we'll be focusing on Boss Battle 1. Now, this is the AoE fight. The starting hand is a triple orb steal or a triple convert from greens to oranges. Really only one character that can do that, and that is the... Well, specifically change 3 orbs to orange. That would be not a lot of characters, but you could use the free-to-play Kigali. But this is an AoE fight. They have a lot of resistance. Reamer doesn't do a lot, but Beretta, 100% synergy, crit, pierce, and Aegis resistance. And then single target resistance by 50%. So any normal orbs or single target alts are going to be cut in half. Additionally, you get 30% magic resistance, or they get 30% magic resistance, so magic team's not going to be super great. And then on turn 5 to nerf Reckoning and the sword gimmick, they are just invincible. So at the end of their turn, after you're done nuking, they just invincible and they don't take sword or Reckoning damage. And then Ramaris nerfs greens and blues. She lowers your defense, and she gives an alt gauge for herself. So really, it's only Beretta that's really being a dickwad, but it's a lot of resistance that they're giving. So you're going to have to make some fun teams. This is an orange-focused stage. There are more orange-focused teams than usual compared to the last couple of years, but you got to have some options. So I've got a few different teams for you today. They're by no means all of the team builds that you can use, so if you have found something else that works, whether it includes the new meta or doesn't, then put it in the comments and hopefully some other people can make use of that. But we're going to try and keep things a bit, quote-unquote, a bit simple here. So let's jump in. Alright, the first team I have is going to be the meta team with some extra characters. So we've got Elmesia, Warrior's Mind Violet, she's also on Scourge Wielder, the new Lumi, the new Masked Hero, the new Masayuki, and then we've got Spirit Master Leon for the alt and EX alt damage. So this team is banking on the multiple turns of buffs from the 3 Scourge Wielder characters, stacks upon stacks of weakness strike from Violet, plus the starting rainbow hand since we have Space Millum as in our support slot. I should have honestly swapped in Masayuki or the hero for Leon, but it's fine. We can send 6 orbs and one of them will be nerfed. If you want to do it differently, then you can. But the hero has the support attached to it, her ult, so we want to get orbs for her mostly, because she's going to do the damage and do the extra weakness strike stacks. So her ults are arguably the most important ones to get on this team. So turn 2, we have an ult for her. We've got a good hand. So let's go ahead and do some control stacks now. This being the AoE fight, Lumi's ult is not as important as Masayuki and the heroes, but we'll do the orange buff and the damage buff. We'll use Elmesia to get us the full hand. The hero ult, 226k, not a lot of damage, but we are getting the 50% weakness strike, because I don't have her rocked up. And now, next hand, we have 2 EX ults, both for Masayuki and the hero. Now we could send them both, on the assumption that we're going to get them back. Or you could leave the hero up front and bank on getting another EX ult for her, or you could send Masayuki away. Like, it's really up to you. But let's go ahead and use the Masayuki Light Dark buff, plus the AoE status. We'll use the Lumi physical damage buff, because that has the Chaos gimmick attached to it for 3 turns, so that's going to do us the most help here. And then we're going to send Masayuki away, and then we will use the orange buff again, and then we'll just go ahead and send this, and we will bank on getting another hero ult. And now her damage has gone up significantly. But we have 2 of the 3 long-term buffs going already, the light and the physical damage, and now this turn we can apply the synergy buff, or debuff, with the Masked Hero. And then we're going to rewind on the final turn, because if we do it early, we're just going to miss a turn, and that's not what you want to do. You are looking to rewind on turn 5. So here we will reapply the control stacks, because we need them active for the final turn. And then we can do the orange buff yet again. Bring Leon in. This is a whole butt ton of Lumi orbs. That's why we swapped the hero out. We're going to hold on to her. We're going to hold on to her EX alt, and we're going to get the EX alt with Lumi here, plus almost fully capped out points. But we have the AoE hits coming in, and they do a lot of damage now, like a lot of damage. Boom. All right, cool. We're already up to 250,000 almost. So now it's turn 5. They're going to ult us. Yeah, yep, whatever. We have the 50% Chaos from Lumi already active. We don't have Masayuki's, but we're going to do that now. So let's do the ult and EX alt buff from Leon, and then we could swap out Violet and Leon for Masayuki and the hero. And now it's important that you remember to rewind here, because that's going to give you the extra turn, and if you're going for good RNG, you want like 2 hero orbs and 1 Masayuki orb on this turn, and no Lumis, because again, Lumi is the least important character here in terms of ult, because it's only hitting 1 person instead of 3. But you could do a little bit better than this. That way you could try and get like another EX ult for the hero, maybe 1 for Masayuki, I don't really know. But we've added Masayuki's little chaos gimmick as well. So the hero, 74 million, something like that. Masayuki, 76 million. And then 108 million, and then the AoEs. You're not looking to crit or Aegis or Pierce, that's going to nerf your damage a lot. And then that kicks in. And then Chaos puts us up to 1.4 billion damage. And then the rewind kicks in, and we have ults for the characters again. And this is why you would ideally get only Masayuki and Hero Orbs, because you could get their EX ult. But we could reapply the Chaos from both Lumi and Masayuki, so we just get even more chaos damage on this turn when we ult, and then we could use Elmesia to do it again, and then we could do the orange buff for funsies. It doesn't really need to, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll do more ults here, and the hero always given the extra 50% weakness strike, so she goes first. Masayuki, Lumi, and then the follow-up orbs, and this is going to put us over 2 billion damage now. I think just barely, and we guarded those hits, unfortunately. So yeah, not barely, 2.3 billion damage done there. Could have been a lot more had we had EX ults, because no one benefited on that rewind turn from Leon's 111% EX ult damage. But, I mean, that's my highest score so far. I mean, it's still nothing compared to the other people playing, but haven't had a lot of time to play right now. I've just been recording the other team videos, but that is the strategy that I am using for the full meta. There are other options you could use as well, but let's move on. Alright, the second team I have for you is the I Only Have Elmesia. Like, I pulled, and I didn't get Masayuki, I didn't pull for the hero or Lumi, so the only current meta character I have is the Protector Elmesia. What else can I use? Okay, well, we're gonna bring Warrior's Mind Blanc, big time damage. We've got Awakened Isis. She is on Scourge Wielder, and she does have ult resistance down. We've once again brought Leon, because he's just kind of really that good. We've got Divine General Diablo for the synergy buff, and you could, in theory, get him from one of the paid tickets, or if you keep on getting coins for the Anniversary Bazaar, you could get him in a couple of days. And then we're going to nuke with the super old, light masked hero from World of Fantasy, and I did switch her to the attack ult. So this is what we're going to attempt to use here. But turn 1, we don't have a converter. We didn't bring Violet. We didn't bring Kigali. We could have, though. But let's bring the hero in. Let's bring Diablo in, and let's just send the green orbs, and let's pray we can get a good hand on turn 2. And we get almost a good hand. We have Blanc, though, so we could get the extra 70% on oranges. We can get the extra skill points, and that'll kind of get us started. It's just we don't have a good turn 1. And there, you could sit here and RNG it, and you could attempt to get a full natural hand of oranges. I did have that happen once, but the rest of the run was terrible. But it can happen. So let's do this. Let's do the hero's resistance debuff and orb damage. It's single target orb, but it's better than nothing. And that gets her very close to an EX ult. But the hero has a single alt swap to greens, which, it doesn't really matter because we have Elmesia and she can convert whatever it is to oranges anyway. So we could alt swap here, because it costs nothing. Boom. Have 4 greens, 2 Diablo orbs, whatever. Elmesia, since the hero is physical, she's going to get the physical buff from Elmesia. We'll redo the damage buff and the orb damage and the resistance down. We'll also use the synergy buff here because we've got the points for it, might as well. And then we have an EX alt for both Blanc and the hero, and that's looking pretty good now. And 332k, not the worst thing in the world. But we have two EX alts, one with our nuking character and one with, Blanc, who is very strong in her own right. Cheeky counters, that's always nice. Double counter, actually. So now it's turn 2. We're going to use, let's see. We are going to, I think, swap both Blanc and the hero out. And then we'll use Elmesia, because doing that will reset Diablo back down to 90 points and make him just a bit cheaper. And then we could still use the synergy buff, and it'll hit the back line. So, let's Elmesia. Boom. I couldn't alt swap, so it's just we're going to have to send one alt and a couple. But synergy buff, we'll do the green buff just to buff the rainbows. You could have been doing that the entire time, quite honestly, if you wanted to, but oh well. But we are still going to get 150 points. We have another Elmesia next turn. That's cool. Diablo, Leon, and Isis not benefiting from the physical buff because they're magic characters. Oh well. But we are ready to nuke now, because the only things we need to use on this turn are the Leon buff and the Blanc buff. But we could also, because of how Elmesia works, and we have the multi-skill, we can bring Blanc in for Leon. And then we could use her 40 skill points twice in this turn. And that will allow us to use the ult resistance debuff with Isis. So we're trying to be a little bit funny. Or, sorry, we used it first, and then we're going to do it again so we can get access to Blanc. Either way, we use the multi-skill and we use the Elmesia reset to then get enough points to use some of the buff. One of the buffs, which is going to be Blanc's buff, because we were kind of in a funny spot. But there's that, and now we have the 90 points necessary. So one way or another, we were able to use all 3 buffs, even though we only had 180 points. So let's nuke Diablo, 136. The hero, 9.4 million damage. Blanc, 12 million damage. And then the follow-up orb for hero, 300k. And then 620,000 damage. So you know what? Not terrible. It's not super great, but it's still an S rank, and it's using very, well, as our nuking character, very, very old hero. Blanc, Diablo you can technically get for free right now. Blanc obviously is a premium character. Leon is too. Isis, maybe you got her from all the tickets that we've been summoning on. But there's an option if you only have Elmesia. And of course, if you don't have these characters, it's just going to go a little bit worse. Okay, so the next team is the opposite version, whereas the last clip was I only got Elmesia, and now it's I only pulled Masayuki. And because it's on the initial banner, maybe you didn't summon for the hero and Lumi because you didn't like them, you didn't get lucky, you didn't pull Elmesia, but you have Masayuki. What team can you make with him? And the answer is very easily the Warrior's Mind team. So we've got Shuna, Violet, Schemer Sokka, and Schemer Lumi, and then Masayuki and Blanc. And this is the team that I would use in like beatdown battle, and it would outdamage the meta before Lumi and the hero came out. So, I mean, it's a good team. It just doesn't have the chaos damage. It's a one-turn nuke. But Masayuki is going to be able to make Blanc a light character, so she'll be able to nuke type advantage with all of her buffs and everything going on here, and it's very powerful. Okay, starting out, we have 36 skill points because we have Space Milm underneath Sokka, and this is an entire hand of Schemer characters, so we will Rainbow Convert, and then we'll bring in Masayuki for Violet and Blanc for Sokka, because the Violet ults will give Blanc extra weakness strike, and that's kind of important because we kind of want her to nuke. She's going to be the most powerful because the dark debuff that she's going to have as well, that Masayuki can't participate in because he's not a natural dark character. At least I think that's how it works. Just like how non-natural light and dark characters don't get the light buff from him, I think it works the same way. But we have multiple Blanc orbs and multiple Violet orbs. Masayuki, we'll get his ult later on, but more important to get Violet ults and the Blanc EX ult, so we can make her just as strong as possible. We're going to have to send her away, though. So we have no ult swapping character, so we can't really leave her up front very easily. So she's not going to get the control stacks, unfortunately. But as long as we can get Violet and maybe even a Lumi ult or two, we could get extra weakness strike. And we kind of want Masayuki orbs, and luckily the game knows that, so we got Masayuki orbs, and now we can get his EX ult. So we'll use the light and dark attack from him now, and then we'll take out Blanc, so we can hold on to her in the back and hold on to that dark and light buff, even though it wouldn't run out anyways. And then we will, do another stack of control, because that'll help Masayuki out now. He's going to get a lot of extra weakness strike off of these control stacks, because he got it last turn. He's going to get 12 stacks this turn. So another Violet ult means that more weakness strike for Blanc, and then the EX ult for Masayuki, looking good. He has the light buff, the physical debuff as well. And now we can send him away, and we could use the Soka synergy buff, and we could hold on to that on both Masayuki and Blanc in the back for turn 5. So you go away. We need to reapply the control stacks one more time. So 1, 2, and then control. That way it's active on the nuke turn. We can hold on to the synergy, and then we could hold on to the light-dark activation from Masayuki on Blanc in the back. We're going to bring Blanc in for Masayuki, use her skill points and orange buff, and then send her away as well for Lumi. And unfortunately, we're just never going to get a Lumi ult here. Not a super big deal. I would have preferred those to be Violet or Lumi orbs and not almost a whole hand of Soka, but I still don't mind a handful of Soka. But we're doing okay damage with Violet's ult there. And now we can nuke. And the only thing we have to use is the Lumi buff and debuff, and then Blanc's buff. See, it's kind of important that you have 180 skill points on this turn. So if you're finding yourself a bit short, you might have to switch to like a skill point charm. I'm running that right now, and not protection gauge. So let's use the Lumi buff and debuff, physical attack, and synergy resistance down, which we have synergy and rate up already. So we'll bring Masayuki in, and then we'll bring Blanc in for Soka, since she's going to do the most damage here. And then we'll use Blanc's buff debuff. And now we'll do quite a bit of damage. We'll get a full hand of oranges from Shuna, and then we'll big time nuke Masayuki, Blanc, and then we'll send Blanc orbs last. Masayuki does 61 million damage, 661 million damage, something like that, something crazy numbers right there. So, yeah, it did a lot. It almost did 1 million or 1 billion damage right there with the Chaos gimmick kicked in. Like, that's really, really good for a non-meta protector character and only one new meta unit. But it does require a lot of premium summonable characters, so maybe it's not really your cup of tea. So if this is what you have to use, but maybe not as many good options, put it down in the comments, or make your substitutions as you see fit. Maybe you don't have Soka, you have Diablo, yeah, sure, that works. You don't have Violet, that sucks. You might have to use Kigali turn 1 then with Masayuki, but you can find other characters to fit in here to do some kind of damage in this same team build-ish. And the final team I have for you, at least today, is going to be the Frieren meta. It's an orange team, it's synergy, it has a strong AoE character in Frieren, it makes a lot of sense. And we've got Himmel, Fern, Stark, Frieren, Raphael, and of course, Blanc. If you don't have Blanc, don't worry about it, bring someone else. If you don't have Raphael, you can bring just a different triple orb stealer. It's just that we're going to use that damage buff from Raphael, so that's going to be part of our damage output. But if you don't have him, gotta find someone else. Bring a Bride Shuna or something. And if you don't have Blanc, bring Visions of Coleus Violet or some other kind of big-time magic buffer. Someone that can help out Frieren do more damage. But this works. It's not the greatest score, but it definitely works. However, the way we're going to run it, you kind of need to Blanc on turn 2. So turn 1, we're going to yoink all those orbs with Raphael, get the Frieren EX ult. We specifically put Fern in slot 1 so she goes to the back so we can maybe steal on turn 2. But We actually don't do that. We're going to steal on turn 3, or somehow naturally get the Frieren EX ult on turn 2. But we have, like, something skill points here. 53. I want to use Frieren's magic state now, because it'll activate with 1 turn remaining when we actually want to nuke. We can't use it on turn 3, because it won't activate. We have to use it turn 2 if you want to use it. If not, then not a big deal. We will alt swap. We have 4 Frieren orbs, naturally, and then we could use Himmel to convert that last Blanc orb, and now that we have the Blanc buff activated, because we used it so we could alt swap Frieren, now we could use, or now we can just get the Frieren EX ult right here, and we don't have to worry about anything. But we had to use the Blanc extra 40 skill points in order to have enough to both use the magic state and do the alt swap with Stark. You don't have to do the alt swap with Stark. It does make things easier, though, especially if you have multiple orbs for Frieren, and your hand ends up being like this, where you can get the Frieren EX ult just kind of naturally. But now we have 200 points, so we could use the Raphael buff, the attack, and weakness strike. We could do a stack of the synergy resistance down with Stark, because that's going to help our damage. And then we'll just take Frieren out of here, holding on to the synergy and magic buff. Frieren is in the back, holding the synergy buff, and we're just waiting out the countdown for her magic state. And then we'll go ahead and yoink some orbs here, call it good. And I think we also use the Raphael buff, the attack and the weakness strike. That's why we had almost no points left over. But we do have enough here, right? Did I use that this turn? Or did I use that last turn? Or this turn? Let's find out. Together. I can't remember. Stark is taking all the hits because he's the one that's taunting, except for the AoE, because he can't taunt all 3 hits. But now it's turn 2. That's a lot of Blanc orbs. Yeah, we did use the Raphael buff. We're going to use the Blanc buff now, because we need to have enough points on the nuke turn to use other skills. So, let's go ahead and do this, and then we're going to do one last alt steal with Raphael, because Raphael gives weakness strike whenever he ults, which means that Frieren and Frieren are going to do more damage, and I'm not as concerned about Blanc's ult, because I can't save buffs on her. She's not going to be nearly as powerful as Frieren and Frieren, so I'm not super concerned about missing out on her damage, since she's type neutral. She would do good damage, but it's not as much. So, now the magic state kicks in, because we used it on turn 2, and it's turn 5 now. And now we've got a full hand. We could take Blanc out for Frieren. We've already used everything from her. We could bring Frieren in for Stark now. And then let's use the Frieren buff. Actually, we didn't use Frieren's buff at all. We held on to that. My bad. We just used the Raphael buff on turn 3. So that's why we needed to use the Blanc buff early, because we don't have enough points to use 4 big time skills on turn 5. We can just do 3 of them. And we've gotten 2 stacks of Stark synergy down, so 1 million damage each from Raph. Frieren, 52 million. Frieren, 85 million. Remember that they have not only magic resistance, but single target resistance. So Frieren was kind of nerfed there, unfortunately. So, we're still at almost 250 million damage, which for the Frieren team, which came out in January, it's pretty good. It's definitely not the best score in the world, but it is a pretty decent score for a team that's 10 months old now. So that's all I have for you today. Obviously, there are other orange teams you could use, other characters and other substitutions you can bring in. And again, if you have any other team builds you found success with, please put it down in the comments so other people can see it. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.